How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and this time we are doing something kind of out of the norm.
Reviewing obscure heroes is pretty normal for you.
Okay, I mean out of the norm by where I found this person. I was going through the pages of Fiction House comic books. They do a lot of space adventures and cowboy comics, and that's where I discovered this one. So this isn't a space adventure, which is kind of weird that it came off of out of Planet Comics, which I actually would have loved to have seen more of this character, but it was a one and done. And like I said, Fiction House, I've done a couple of characters from Fiction House, but they don't do superheroes very often, so I don't have a lot of characters covered from this publication. So that's why I was flipping through them to see if maybe any of the space heroes or the cowboys would be something that I wanted to cover, because I have covered a few of them on these Lost Heroes. So, I mean, if anybody's interested in seeing any of those, there's a fair few, many of them. But I came across this one, and I thought it was interesting enough that I wanted to cover it. And since it was a one and done, and since it didn't seem to follow the theme like a lot of the other Planet comic stories, I wanted to cover this one. This is Mighty Woman. Now, I don't think that she's human. I think that maybe she's part of a race that comes from another planet, and I think that may have been along the lines of the setup for this character, but she's one and done. Nothing about this is ever explained, dived into, or expanded on in any way, because they only had the single issue. I honestly would have liked to have seen more. It's kind of a shame that it was only one. There are a couple of themes in there that I was just like, yeah, this should have, a couple of themes should have gone farther. A couple of things I don't buy into quite as well either, but I would have liked to have seen more of this character so they could expand on her. I mean, if they want to put out stories of her today, I'd definitely pick them up and look at them. So we're going to cover, well, she's Mighty Woman and she's Amazonia. Either calling her by either name wouldn't be incorrect in this instance, since there's no history. There's no precedent either. So let's go ahead and cover this character on the Lost Heroes of the Golden Age. And like I said, if there's anything else from Fiction House that you'd like to see, since they don't cover many superheroes, I could definitely dive into more of their stories and cover more of those characters. But, I know, I should have started by now. As the voice always likes to remind me to say, if you like this channel and you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and maybe tell people who like this kind of content about this channel. So, let's get started on this Lost Heroes of the Golden Age. Mighty Woman, real name Amazonia, first appeared in Planet Comics number 3 in 1940. The original publisher is Fiction House. There are 3 names connected to this: Wilson Locke, Alan Blum, and Dan Zolenwrench. And I recognize Zolenwrench. I've covered something from him before. There's the brief interlude. Let's go on with the first appearance. Amazonia, the Mighty Woman, by Wilson Locke. In the vast cold reaches of the far north lives Amazonia, woman of surpassing strength and ultimate beauty. She and her people are the last survivors of a super race that perished during the period of the last ice age. Caught in the treacherous ice wastes of the north, the USS Walrus goes to its doom. Walrus? Really? I mean, you can name your ship whatever you want, but the Walrus? That seems unusual. We see this guy dressed up, but like an Eskimo, I guess. Blake Manners, lone survivor of the expedition, desperately searches for food and shelter. You're in the Great White North, buddy. Okay. Suddenly, he comes upon a strange structure. He enters. Okay. I mean, I give a lot of allowances when it comes to comic books. Obviously, the suspension of disbelief have to be present so you can buy into the story. This part with the structure sticking out of the ice, it's strange. It's strange credulity, because we have flown over the entire Earth by the 1920s. That's when we started. In fact, they flew over the Arctic in 1926. If there was a structure sticking out of the ice, we would have known about it before this comic came out in 1940. No. Now, if he'd gone into like an ice cave and then found the structure, that I could buy into. But the fact that there's a structure sticking out of the ice and by the 1940s nobody's ever seen it, I can't stretch the disbelief that far. We would have seen this by now. Next time, put it in an underground cavern or an ice cavern. Put it someplace where it wouldn't be visible from the sky, that we've already explored the planet. We flew over the planet in the 20s. There's no way they would have missed this. I mean, things that are hidden underground, under the surface, where we can't see it from the sky. White men. I thought I'd never see one again. What? Let me read it again. White men. I thought I'd never see one again. Welcome, my son. That is the weirdest, the most unusual way to greet someone. I shudder to think what would have happened if they weren't white. Quietly, the elderly man tells Blake of his strange ancestors. We are descendants of the ancient people. Only the hardiest of them survive the rigors of the vast Arctic lands. How interesting. And we see a number of people there. He says that he wants to return to America, and they will be glad to aid him, although they know nothing of the outside world, and they venture outside. You see, this isn't even hidden underground. How has nobody seen this by now? I know we're not exploring the Arctic to a great length in the 1940s, but I do believe that the structure would have been more than visible and people would have been curious. Amazonian, fascinated by the handsome stranger, does not want him to leave, of course, because women fall over themselves when it comes to men in the 1940s. Okay, so they start walking together. Let's see, farewell, my friend. But Blake is determined to leave and bids them farewell. She begs to go with him. I'd love to take you with me, but the ways of my country are very unlike yours. He's thinking of her happiness, but she says that she's lonely and that she doesn't like having snow and ice for company. But there were other people there. There's a whole group of people when she entered. A lot of people. She's not alone. I don't understand why she'd only have ice and snow as company. Okay, well, they happen upon the boat. Let's see. The task of releasing it from his icy clutches appears hopeless. Okay. It doesn't say how much time has passed. I wouldn't think that there would have been too much, or they probably would have been sending out search parties for him because he's a reporter, well-known reporter. They wouldn't have seen the boat, so somebody would have come out looking for them. How long had the boat been stuck in the ice to get in this condition? I mean, there doesn't seem to be any water around them, and I don't think that the boat would have floated onto the ice for a while and collapsed. And he's the lone survivor, which means he survived while there were supposedly more people, because he's not manning a boat that size by himself, have died. So, how long has he been here? Where are the other people? And how long has he been sitting in the ice that there's no water around him? And look, she has to free the boat from the ice. If this thing had just run aground, I doubt there would need to have been this much effort to free the boat. This is why how much time has passed is important. Because then you're just doing things that just go, this makes no sense. Okay. So she decides to break the boat free, and their race is super strong, as was said in the opener. We'll be ready for your trip soon, Blake. With amazing strength, the strange girl lifts the heavy chunks of ice away from the boat, much to Blake's amazement. Heavy chunks of ice. She has to free the boat. If this thing had just run aground, they would be next to the water. Some time has had to have passed. But it doesn't say in the beginning. Soon the couple are sailing for the long, arduous journey to America. Just the two of them? Okay, she's a super strong creature who has been stuck in the Arctic for some time. He is a reporter. How did the two of them manage to secure the boat and get it to where it can get them back to where they need to come from? I'm not going to say it's impossible for two people, but it's highly unlikely. It's not like this is a day tripper yacht. This is a sizable boat. You can see it when they're standing next to them. I'm having a hard time thinking that these two together are going to be able to get this boat up, running, and operational enough to lead them back to the U.S. I mean, they're really stretching the suspension of disbelief here. Back in America, Blake visits his employer, the editor of the large metropolitan newspaper. Blake, you need a rest after that trip. I'm putting you on a nice tame assignment. The Society News. You still haven't mentioned how much time had gone by. This would have been a perfect chance for the editor to have been, hey, in the 6 months, in the 2 months, in the 5 days, in the 3 weeks that you've been gone. No. You need a rest after the trip. You still haven't told us how much time has gone by. There's a lot of inconsistencies to how this starts to where things are now. And with the two of them taking the boat out of the Arctic, how long did that take? I'm assuming that an awful lot of time has gone by, and this editor should be hugely surprised that this guy is showing up after such a long time has gone by. I mean, in the 1940s, we didn't just take a day trip to the Arctic. It was just the two of them. It would have taken some time for them to get back. Okay, so he says, have a heart. Give me the frozen north any day rather than the chilly stars of the frosted socialites. But he has his way, and he wants them to cover social functions. So he wants to introduce Amazonia to them. She says, I'm frightened. What will people think of me? And the cab driver, he's a little sexist. Don't worry, babe. These society guys will go for a sweet gal like you. She doesn't like the fact that she's being spoken to in such a disrespectful manner, and I don't blame her. So she hauls the driver out and hits him. Nobody asked for your opinion. I'll show you how sweet a babe I am. There you go. Feminism at its best. Furiously, she turns on the cab and knocks it over. And this statement, sorry, she's a bit untamed. Dude, you're not much better than the cab driver saying something like that. What a wallop she packs. I didn't mean nothing, mister. Look at that. She knocked the sexism right out of him. I mean, that's quite a punch. She says she's sorry and she promises not to embarrass him. While they're in the party, crooks come in and start sticking him up. Quick as a flash, Amazonia swings into action. She and Blake tear into the astonished crooks as they bolt for the exit. Now, I know why she's fighting, but him being a reporter, at first I wanted to say, he's a reporter, why would he be getting into the fray to fight? But then you got to think back to the superheroes of 1940. More than half of them are either reporters or assistant attorney generals. So I'm not going to disparage too heavily on the fact that he's helping her fight off the crooks. Okay, there's no transition for this. We see her throwing punches and then she's swinging from the chandelier. Did the people who wrote the Cyclone do this? There's no transition for how she's swinging from the chandelier. With the agility of the cat, Amazonia leaps to the chandelier and swings over the alarmed guest. There's no transition for this. She's just suddenly swinging from this. Okay. Let's see. She drops upon the departing thugs. Okay. She was just beating up the thugs. Why would she need to swing over the guests to beat up the thugs? She was already on top of them. I mean, maybe she beat up the ones that were near her and the ones on the other side of the room were escaping, but it didn't seem like there was a massive amount of spaces between them entering and then where she started battling them. Hurry, Blake, after them. So, with great speed, they dash after the thugs. So the thugs make it out. The thugs are not given a name. They make it out to the car, and then they make it out to their car. Follow them, Blake. I'll stay on the running board. Hang on, we're gaining on them. So she's hanging onto the running board at the outside. You don't see running boards much anymore. And as they catch up, Amazonian leaps courageously between the speeding cars. Careful, Amazonia, they're armed. Considering she jumped into the fray to start fighting them the minute they entered the party, I don't think she's worried too much about the guns, dude. You jumped into the fray too. Okay, startled, the crooks valiantly. Let's try this again. Startled, the crooks try valiantly to defend himself against Amazonia's attack. I gotta stop trying to read these too fast. The car swerves dangerously as the fight continues. Suddenly, I laughed extremely hard the first time that I saw a sign like this. I'm an Air Force brat and an Army guy myself. I've been to other countries. I don't think I've ever seen a sign like this. If there are signs that exist like this, I would love to know about it, but this thing is hilarious. I mean, look at this sign. A curve, a long arrow pointing down 100 feet ahead. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. There's a guardrail. Why it's a wooden guardrail under a large protruding cliff is kind of surprising, but maybe they had wooden guardrails in the 1940s. Nowadays, you'd have a metal guardrail that you'd have to hit with a tremendous amount of speed or something extremely heavy to even go through it. Suddenly, and hurtled crazy over the steep precipice, so the car flies down, crashing amid horrified shrieks. The car becomes a wrecked heap. Rounding the curve, Blake is terrified at seeing the broken fence. Frantically he runs towards the edge of the cliff. Amazonia, where are you? She must have been killed. How high is this cliff? The cliff didn't say it was 100 feet drop. It said it was 100 feet ahead. He got down there rather quickly, I would assume. So he gets to the car, and the car is a burning heap. I don't know enough about cars in the 1940s to say that something like this seems rather unlikely, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go with it. So he approaches the doomed car, sees a bloody hand, and pulls one of the guys out of there. And then it says in a text block here, before he can rescue the others, the car explodes. He is horrified that Amazonia might be among the injured people or part of the explosion. She's gone in that terrific explosion. No, she hasn't. You can't get rid of me that quickly. Why did you refer to yourself in the third person there? No, she hasn't. Why didn't you just say no, I haven't? That was completely unnecessary syntax. Darling, I mean, you vixen. What's the idea of scaring me like that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I was thrown up into that tree. What? You were thrown up into the tree. So, by the way that you just made that statement, is the car crashed and you flew upward into the tree. You see, I would have assumed that as the car came down, you jumped into the tree so you didn't crash with the car. But by the statement that you just said, I was thrown up into that tree. It means that you were still riding the car when it crashed, and then it crashed and you flew up into the tree from the crash. That is what that statement says. And we saw that car right next to the tree. Why didn't the explosion knock the tree over? She's still up in the tree. The car exploded. I'm pretty sure that even in the tree, you would have been damaged. That's a sizable explosion. This thing obliterates the tree. And he didn't pull the guy that far from the wreckage either. I mean, he barely pulls the guy out. Everybody's dead. Blake and Amazonia included. Well, maybe not her. She's super strong and durable. Maybe she would have survived. But he's definitely dead. Look at the size of that explosion. That's a huge explosion. Later, Blake calls his office. If you want a scoop on the attempted jewel robbery, take me off the social news. And we'll read the last two panels. Okay, Blake, you win. You start tomorrow on Red Hot Murder Cases. Now let's have the story. Are all society parties so exciting? Follow another startling adventure of Amazonia in the next issue. Planet Comics goes on sale the 15th of every month. Despite the fact that this was only one issue, I feel that they were going to do more issues of her. But this probably wasn't the right publication for it. Most of the stuff in Planet Comic Books are space adventures or tech adventures. This story seemed kind of out of place in the publication that it came out with. Good story, though. I hope you like this character. I hope you found it as interesting as I did, and I know I ranted a little bit at the beginning, but we are coming up on June, and June is where I start into my Marvel month, or Timely as it was back then. So we've got characters coming down from Timely Comic Books in the pipeline. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.